The top buyer of gold so far in 2025 is a shocker, but number two, I think, is just as important. I'll explain the monumental shift that we're seeing in gold and why its price has skyrocketed to record highs when adjusted for inflation in this video as we explore. There's an infographic that was posted over at the Visual Capitalist about the decade of central bank gold purchases, and it really is quite revealing as to what's been going on year after year. 2020 was a pivotal year, by the way, because there was the least amount of buying in that year over the last 10 years. But what's remarkable about this is the amount of gold that has been accumulated by central banks even before the big rise in 2022. That's right. Central banks really, in a sense, have been nervous about the dollar and about geopolitics even before then because they've been buyers since 2014. And there's been a lot that's been going on. I think a lot of that stems back from the original quantitative easing that had occurred and all those dollars swishing around the world economy. And even though those dollars did not cause inflation, it is because central banks around the world have accumulated more of the reserves. But they've realized, in a sense, central banks understood what gold has been for thousands of years, and that is a store of wealth, a store of value. It's quite remarkable, and I'm doing the same thing, and many of you are as well. We're our own central banks by accumulating gold, such as the gold you see here. Even these small little gram bars, it is a way to preserve your wealth over the long course of time. And I love the idea of adding gold and filling up this little wallet here from Summit Metals. Check out Summit Metals in the link in the description below for excellent customer service and fast shipping. So what does some of this tell us? Well, we know central bank gold demand since 2022 has exceeded 1,000 tons annually. So that's really when it really picked up, and that was sparked by the Russia-Ukraine war and the weaponization of the dollar and just geopolitics in general, uncertainty in that region, and that is key to the largest holder of gold and the largest buyer of gold in 2025. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but first, let's talk a little bit about what happened in 2022. 1,080 tons of gold was purchased that year by central banks. That's massive. That's more than double than what happened in 2021. And it's pretty amazing. So 450.1 tons were bought in 2021 and 1,080 were bought in 2022. And they stayed up above 1,000 for each year and likely will continue into this year, 2025. And we'll get into those numbers in a moment. But inflation and geopolitics is what is troubling central banks, and this is why they're holding gold. Now, I want to remind some of you who may not know that in April of 2019, the Central Bank of Central Bankers, the Bank of International Settlements, has regarded gold to be a Tier 1 asset, putting it equal to and on par with the dollar in cash reserves out there. In that year, they bought 605.4 tons. The year prior, they bought 656.2 tons, which is the second highest accumulation since 2022. Now, there are 3 years of purchases above 104% from the previous years that had occurred. That's 2022, 2023, and 2024. And here in 2025, we have now the net purchases and sales by tons for the first half of this year. And that is 23 countries have increased their reserves in the first half of 2025, with Poland coming out on top, with 67.2 tons alone for Poland. That is quite telling. And that is a European country. That's right. And that just goes to show you that this move and that shift is remarkably moving more towards the west as opposed to the east. At least according to the official reserves, China is at 19 tons for the first half of this year, but some people feel they're accumulating a lot more than that. But number two, I think, is maybe even more telling. sending the trend in line with what's going on with other central banks in the western part of the world. Azerbaijan has added 34.5 tons of gold so far in 2025 for the first half of the year. Azerbaijan is a transcontinental country crossing both Asia and Eastern Europe there. But this goes to show you that there is another country, former Soviet Republic, who has been adding a lot more. Another former Soviet Republic is Kazakhstan. And that one is still kind of straddling that line there to an extent. And they're at 22.1 tons. And then comes China, Turkey, Czechia, and the Czech Republic, has added 10.8 tons, so that's another one. And then the rest of them are not in Europe, Qatar, India, Ghana, and Cambodia, which are minuscule in comparison, but still Poland taking the cake there, taking the top notch for so far in the first half of 2025. And these numbers are quite intriguing and telling, as we very well could end up with another strong year in 2025, although most people feel that, or most analysts feel that it likely will probably not top the previous years. We may not even get to 1,000 tons, but you never know. We'll see what happens, and some of these numbers are still coming in, and remember, that's just the first half of the year. These numbers are recorded as of September 2025. And the estimated global gold reserves total 36,359 tons, according to the IMF. Pretty amazing. And so what we're seeing is all this buying that is occurring is something that should give us an idea of what's happening around the world. There is uncertainty. There is fear out there, and it is not subsiding a whole lot. And we should be our own central bank by holding gold. No question about it. And I know I'm continuing to at least buy a little bit. I can't buy as much as I had in the past, but still, I'm going to be continuing to accumulate. And I think that it is a good idea for us as well to hold gold, to hold the gold that we have for the most part, because you don't know what's going to be lying ahead. And no question about it. Gold has proven itself to be a stable store of value over the long course of time. And there's no indication that any of these central banks are going to be selling gold anytime soon. There's very little selling that has occurred over the past years. And there have been grossly net buyers by far as opposed to selling. Now, there's some that do, and I've talked about some of those that have sold in the past. I think Turkey has actually sold some in recent years, but so far in 2025, they are net buyers with 17.2 tons. So I think this tells us that there's going to be a lot of uneven growth, sticky inflation, reoccurring geopolitical flashpoints that could keep market volatility elevated. And so central bank gold demand will still remain strong. And it does offer this way to diversify against the Federal Reserve, assets in those countries, cash reserves and the like, and foreign exchanges. Gold is the ultimate safe haven. Central banks know this. This is why they store it. And so it is quite incredible, and I think it is quite telling that what we're seeing here with gold is the promise of actual money that cannot be inflated. You can't print gold. Central banks know this, and we know this, which this is why I have continued to try to trade and to keep in trade some of my Federal Reserve notes for actual gold, hard cash. That's right. It is liquid, very liquid metal, that's for sure. I think it has proven itself to be even more liquid than silver this year, as we've seen in recent times, and this is why I'm a strong proponent of having gold as part of your portfolio. But I believe that having cash on hand is also very important. Going to continue to do that as well, but I believe that gold being a great way to be able to protect your personal financial situation and to be able to preserve your wealth. And even in the here and now, it has done that and has performed like an investment, but really it's about the long-term proposition. Preserve your wealth over the long term. And that's what it's about, folks. And this is why I'm holding gold. And I think that Poland realizes this, and I think we're going to probably see more nations start to accumulate gold too. Now, Germany is one of the top holders of gold outside of the United States, and we've not heard of them adding more to their portfolio, nor the United States. But I believe that even the strong top nations should be holding more gold as well. Because sooner or later, China's going to catch up. or some of these other nations. Poland, this is huge. Poland has leading with the amount of gold that they have in Azerbaijan. And so we'll see. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Are you buying gold even with the prices as high as they are right now? And if so, let me know what type of gold you're buying. And what do you think about Poland being this top nation that has been adding gold to their portfolio and their central bank reserves? I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.